Oh, yeah, Afrika! Give him a round of applause. That's my brother. Come on now, give it to him. 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 Come on, give it up on him. Give it up on him. Welcome to my 18th anniversary. Give it up to him, man. Yeah, it's you. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know me. Thank you for coming. One, two.
Yes, sir.
I kind of know who I am too. Good evening. Nice for you to come out today and spend some time with me. I guess I'll talk about health. There seems to be a lot of problems with health, and they're not going to go away until we freeze the people, to tell you the truth. That's not going to help. Can't be healthy and cultureless is impossible. But nonetheless, to help you put new curtains on your jail cell, it seems to be, we tend to think that scientists are always talking about facts, but we in science don't always talk about facts. We mostly talk about our beliefs, and beliefs are not facts. And the biggest problem I have with talking to people about science is they take science's beliefs as facts. They are not facts. We have the belief, and we call our beliefs theories. There's a theory of evolution. It has never been written as a fact. A black woman didn't produce white people. That is not a fact. That is a belief of scientists. Evolution is a belief. We call it a theory. We call it the free radical theory. We call it the antioxidant theory. We call it electron orbital theory. We call it the theory of gravity. We have all of these theories, but you take them as facts. And that's the major problem I have. Didn't know black women in Africa produced white people. Get over it. It's a belief. The problem with beliefs are they're more powerful than facts. Wars are fought over beliefs, not facts. A belief is more powerful than any fact. We have to be able to accept a belief and accept a fact. It is a belief that I'm having a problem with. It's all right for you to believe in Santa Claus. I'm not trying to change your belief, but you know Santa Claus is not a fact. You have no problem with those things like that. But when it gets to food, nutrition, your health, homosexuality, you take all these theories as facts. Let us start off with how you are miseducated along with myself, because I'm trying to save myself as well as you. You were born, and the largest part of you that grew was your heart. Your heart grew first, and then your brain. And then your liver grounds your brain electrically. Everything starts from the root. The tree grows from the root. And then the trunk grows, and the branches, and the leaves, and the flowers, and all that sort of thing. And your thoughts grow from the root of your brain called the brain stem. The thoughts grow there. Your emotions grow from there. Nothing happens singularly in the body. When the emotions grow, they grow like a bunch of grapes. We call it a neural net. You cannot have a single emotion by itself. If you have love, love is attached to anger, frustration, rage, hatred. It's attached to all the emotions. That is a fact. When you love someone, you also love their ignorance, their stupidity, their bad habits. You love the whole bunch of grapes called a crazy person. I mean, you're a lover or whatever. All of that comes in a package. We call it a neural net. So your emotions grow from your brain stem, your thoughts grow from your brain stem, and then they branch out to what we call the cerebrum and the emotional center of your brain. So you go from the brain stem, which we could say is where you get letters from, and the middle part of your brain, which we call the parietal lobe, that's where you make the letters into a word. And up here, we call it the frontal lobe. That's where you make the words into a sentence. So you have letters back here, words here, and a sentence here. That's how these thoughts and emotions grow. They grow from a root. So the objective is if you put a tree in the bad soil, or any plant in bad soil, it won't grow too well. And you know that. So we have to get to the brain stem to make you crazy as possible, dysfunctionalize you. Some of you like to call it DNA, and we don't know what that means. Dioroxynuclear, whatever the white people like to tell you it means. It's just two strings of sugar, and in between of it is like a ladder. That's the amino acid, what you call protein, and that's how it grows. It has to attach to two sugars. And then there's the rungs on the ladder, which you call the DNA. That's where the code is, on these rungs of the ladder. So it's growing up from the base. The ladder doesn't start from the top, it starts from the bottom, it starts from its root. So it's important to understand the root of your emotions, the root of your thoughts, because you are manipulated more by your emotions than how you think. Some of you think quite well about junk food and McDonald's and Obama. You have these nice thoughts about him. That's good, but your emotions are another way. Your emotions are attached to another part of this whole thing that goes on. You know intellectually that he's the president of a white company. And the president of any company, be it a baseball team, a football team, their job is to raise money. A president of a football team has to raise some money or else he's going to lose his job. Presidents are fundraisers. That's not the person you want to talk to. They just about raising some funds. And that's what Obama does, raises some funds for Wall Street, what you call it, bailouts or whatever the hell y'all call it. He's doing his job for that white corporation he works for. He doesn't work for you, Negroes. Those are the facts. I mean, I'm not having nothing against the boy. He probably knows how to pick cotton quite well. But those are the facts. And you can cerebrally, intellectually digest all social stuff, but I want you to have an understanding of something called your body. So I have to give you some scientific understanding. Social stuff you understand. Columbus discovered America. He discovered Africa. He discovered Negroes and watermelon. Okay, we got that out of the way now. But we have to understand some science, because African people are scientific people. It takes a science to build some pyramids, my dear brothers and sisters. We are scientific people. And we have to go back and capture that science. So all of these thoughts start from the brain stem, and then they have an emotion attached to them so they can give them a value. And then the front part of your brain makes the sentence, gives the orders, as it were. Now, in the birthing process, What we're trying to do is give a range of how far to go with your anger and your frustration. We want you to know how far to go, the limits. And we call those limits bipolar, binary, the male and female. Every emotion is bipolar. Every disease is bipolar. High blood pressure, low blood pressure. That makes it bipolar. Hyperactivity, hypoactivity. That's bipolar. Every thought and emotion has a range of acceptance. And outside of that range, happiness can hurt you. Some people are happy gambling and shooting crack. Happiness can hurt you, and happiness can help you. Anger can help you, and anger can hurt you. When you put it in a place where it does not belong, then it hurts you. So we have to know the range of our emotions, when to use your anger for your benefit, when to use your hatred for your benefit. That's giving you the range. And you can only get that range from your mother and father if they are bonded in a relationship holistically. That's giving you the range. Now, if daddy ain't there, or mama ain't there, you don't have that range. Not for that moment of childhood, but for the rest of your life. So the objective is to know when to stress the sperm and know when to stress the egg. If you can stress those two, you can dysfunctionalize a Negro forever. We have to know about these things. So the birthing process in itself is a ritual. A ritual is a behavior that you repeat. If you repeat it over and over again and it hurts you, we call it addiction. To understand addiction, all you have to do is understand McDonald's or JCPenney or any factory that makes something. They want you addicted to their product. Ford, Mercedes. You say, I like Ford, you keep buying Fords, you keep buying Fords, because they have addicted you to the product. Advertisers are masters of addiction. If you want to understand addiction, study Coca-Cola. They know how to addict people. That's what they do. So to have addiction is not a bad thing. It's just to have the addiction in the wrong place. But you're already addicted to something. Oprah or something. It's just that you put the addiction in a place where it does not belong. And to move things, you have to have emotional muscle. You can't ask someone to love you and they don't have the emotional muscle to pick up your love. So you have to develop the emotional muscle to do things. And to develop the emotional muscle, you have to have the emotional vocabulary. To have the emotional vocabulary, you must have the emotional budget. To have the emotional budget, you must have the emotional expense account. Because we are ruled by our emotions. That's how they sell cars, brassieres, panty drawers or pantyhose, whatever. That's how the Koreans sell their nails. That's how they sell wigs and weaves. They're manipulating your emotions. That's why you go to the movies. That's why you listen to songs, because you want to be emotionally manipulated by someone else. We have to understand these things so we can get out of this rut, because we've been emotionally had. Some of us are addicted to white people. We want their Grammys, we want their Oscars, we want their diplomas, we want their degrees. We're addicted to them. That is our problem. We don't see it as addiction, but that's what it is. Our happiness is defined by someone else. We are addicted to white people, and that is too bad. But nonetheless, understanding the addiction is to understand emotions. To understand emotions, you have to understand the physical body that produces them. And the physical body that produces them is what I'm talking about. We're talking about the bipolar range for everything. Everything is bipolar. Someone says they have a bipolar disease. I'm saying, okay, we got that part straight. What's the disease? We have all of these buzzwords that means absolutely nothing. In science, we just have a lot of words we throw around that mean absolutely nothing. And you say them like you're saying something. Now, we start off in the womb, as the Greeks call it, because they thought the woman's penis was cut off. and she was wounded. So they call it a wound. That in itself is stupid. But you think it's a wound, so I just say a wound. Okay, she's wounded. Duh. I mean, we say things. I'm going to get some coffee. Yeah, I know coffee is a bean, but what are you getting? Coffee soup. You're not drinking coffee, you're drinking coffee soup. Negro call it what it is. And if it's a bean, it's a carbohydrate, so you're drinking a carbohydrate soup. Coffee, hell, why don't you call it Pinto, Navy, Black Eyed Peas? I mean, that doesn't say nothing. You go into, what's that, Starbucks, whatever that name is, you go in there to get some soup, Negro. A carbohydrate soup. Just call it what it is, and then you have a better understanding of what's going on. Now then, people have these emotions, and you don't know how to use them to your advantage. So if you don't know how to use them to this advantage, then someone else is using them for you, to their advantage. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you don't know how to use it, someone else is going to use it for their advantage. And that's what the addicting arm of General Motors does, Mercedes does, what you call commercials, which are addicting things. Now, you have this baby that's being formed in the mother's womb, as you call it. And the heart sends out this electrical charge about 15 feet. So it's a heart-to-heart communication that the baby has with its mother. Aside from the other bonding things that are required to bond you to anything, to bond you to America, to bond you to Trinidad, to bond you to anything, I have to go through this original way in which you were born. You're in your mother's womb and you're drinking amniotic fluid. That's the fluid the baby's floating in. And in that fluid is vitamins and minerals carry electrical charge, and you call it electrolytes. So the baby can hear this electricity buzzing like you can hear it in cables. And it buzzes real high when the lady's angry. So the baby can hear anger. These electrical charges are in the amniotic fluid, and it flashes off real bright and yellow, orange, red, real bright when the lady's angry. So the baby can see anger, hear anger, and drinks the amniotic fluid and can taste anger. And the baby touches the amniotic fluid so the baby can feel anger. To the baby, anger is holistic. It involves every sensor that the baby has. The ears are a sensor for a sound. The ears do not know what they are hearing. The eyes are sensors of light. The eyes do not know what they are seeing. The taste buds are sensors of food. The tongue does not know what it's tasting. You taste with your brain, you see with your brain, you hear with your brain. You have one sense that's common to all the other ones. It is your common sense. So I'm just trying to get to this science part of it all. So the baby is bonded to the mother with its one sense, its brain. Because it tastes with its brain, it sees with the brain, it touches with its brain, it smells with its brain. So if I want to bond you to New York City or the United States of America, I better have a flower that you can smell or a fruit that you can taste. New York has a fruit, New York has a flower, New York has a color, New York has an anthem. And that's what bonds you to New York. Because they're going through the same process that your mother took you through. You have to use all your senses to bond to someone. Do you see where I'm coming from? Am I getting a little too technical? Because I don't want to get too technical, because I know how it feels to be insulted by people who think they're intelligent, you know? I'm not all that intelligent, you know? You're not all that intelligent. A book cannot make you intelligent. I write books. A book helps you to exercise your intelligence, but God gave you intelligence. You're just exercising it through a book. A book cannot make you intelligent. A book helps you to exercise with something already there that God gave you. God gave you intelligence. God gave you life. God gave you... Do you understand what I'm talking about here? I'm trying to correct some of our miseducation as I go forward with what I'm talking about. But sometimes it becomes very difficult, you see. So, the baby is bonded that way to the mother and father because the baby can send out a signal to the mother when it needs some more vitamin A or vitamin C or vitamin D. It sends it out through hormones because the baby cannot speak Swahili or English or Chinese or Japanese. The baby speaks emotions. So it emotionally sends a signal to the mother, eat something with some vitamin A. And the mother eats something with some vitamin A. So she acts differently when she wants vitamin A as opposed to when she wants vitamin D. She changes her behavior. The father observes the behavior and learns the baby. Because the baby is not being born. The baby is giving birth to two adults as a parent. The baby is pregnant with the mother and father. The mother is pregnant with the baby, and the father is pregnant with the mother and the child. Everybody's pregnant in an African relationship here. Did I go too fast? The baby's taking the mother and father through emotional rites of passage. That's why her behavior changes. So that helps the father understand the baby before it's born, emotionally. The father is pregnant with the mother and the baby. The mother's pregnant with the child, and the child's pregnant with the two adults birthing him as parents. Yeah, am I going a little too fast? Okay. I'm just trying to correct some things before I go forward too much. Because sometimes I forget and I say stuff. Because I went to white school, you know, and it kind of messed me up, you know. Yeah, I'm really, you know, I've been dysfunctionalized by my education, and that's true. That's why I buy white toilet paper, because I want white people to take some shit. But nonetheless, that's my dysfunctionality. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there. I don't want to get ghetto. I'm educated. I'm colleged.
I like it.
So we're going through this whole thing because we're trying to be humanized by this process called birthing. Now, if the mother's eating a lot of carbohydrates, which turn into sugar, you're probably going to have a sugar baby. And the baby's going to weigh 9, 10, 12 pounds. That's a sugar baby. That baby's coming out already addicted to carbohydrates. If the mother's taking alcohol or cocaine or something like that, we're going to have a big problem this time. Because the mother has all these eggs in the ovaries, fellas. They have all the eggs they ever have in their life when they're born. And these eggs don't have an immune system. So when the lady drinks the alcohol goes to the unborn baby, the egg. So that means that when the baby's born, that's 3 generations that are messed up. A baby girl in the mother's womb has eggs. Are you still with me? The woman drinks the alcohol, it goes to the baby girl, but the baby girl can fight it off, but the baby girl's eggs cannot. So that's 3 generations deep. When you're looking at a child, you're looking at the 3rd generation of somebody that made crazy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're looking at the 3rd generation. You're looking at a brain that has been organized differently. If I just lift up muscles, want to make this muscle in my arm big, I lift up weights all the time with just this one arm, this arm is going to get big. You're lifting up thoughts with just this one part of your brain. It's called the imaging part of your brain. You're not using this part of your brain. You're using the imaging part of your brain. Are you following me? That's why
You got the king's chair.
Okay, all right. I know to you I'm Dr. Afrika and all that stuff that goes with all that celebrity stuff. So I'm out, I got Africa, all that stuff. I'm from the projects. And that's where I'm at inside of me. I'm on the projects, welfare, you know the stuff? Yeah. Sharing a bed with my brother, smelling stinky feet till I was 17 years old. 7 brothers and sisters, people stealing your socks, your drawers and stuff like that. You know? Yeah. You better hurry up to the table or you wouldn't have nothing to eat. Just try trying to tell you how things was going on. So to me, I'm still that fella. To you, I'm not Africa, whatever. Nonetheless, let's go back to this whole scenario. So we're looking at this process of how we become dysfunctionalized. That's what I'm trying to say. We're just using the imaging part of our brain, looking at a monitor, a computer. So when a word is misspelled on the computer, you change the image, but you're not changing the logical sequence of why it's misspelled. The brain has changed because the children are only using the imaging part of their brain more than they're using the frontal part of the brain. That's why they put pictures of a hamburger at McDonald's. They punch the picture, they don't punch the price. Are you still with me? So they have a different brain, and you're talking to them like they have a brain from 1980. That's not happening. They have an imaging brain. It's important how you look. You know, they can be cheap clothes with it, but it looks good. You look good. That's the image. Not your spiritual content and how aware you are of your culture. No, it's how you look. Your image is more important. You still with me here? She sure look good. That's her image. It's looking good is being spiritual, being in contact with your ancestors. That's a whole lot of looking good. You just look good. No, that's the image. Because we're dealing with a new brain. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't apply what you learned about psychology anymore because it's another brain altogether. You can't talk the same way you talked to children years ago. You say, I'm talking to them, they just don't get it. I'm talking to all this. Yeah, because you're talking to the wrong part of the brain. You're talking to the frontal lobe, and all that stuff is back here in the imaging part of the brain. Okay, I don't want to upset him, but you're cheering. I'm just trying to help you understand what's going on. It's another process altogether. Now, you go into the brain, you study psychology, you say, I'm going to figure this out. You're studying the wrong thing. They don't have a mental problem. You ask them how much is 1 and 1, and they say 2. Their mind functions quite well. What they have is an emotional problem, and you're talking to the mental part of their brain instead of the emotional part of their brain. You got to go back to the original language in which they learned emotionally. They talk emotionally to their mother before they're born, and the mother talks back to them emotionally. So if you want to talk to them, you have to talk to them emotional and to the imaging part of their brain. Or else you just analog parent with a digital child. You're missing the whole thing, and that's done on purpose with our education. It's a miseducation. Carter G. Woodson said that. It's a totally miseducation. We're miseducated in biology, chemistry, nutrition, and the hell we're talking about history. We're miseducated in those basic things that ran the culture, the legs that moved the culture. We don't have them anymore. It's a science to this thing. A baby's, most of their taste buds are in their cheeks. That's in my book, Raising Black Children here. I wrote down all the rules for parenting, the skills you need, and most black people have never read a book on parenting in their life. You're trying to raise a technology to get you out of this condition. You're trying to produce a product to get you out of this thing called oppression and slavery, and you can't produce that product because you don't have the tools. It's like me telling you to build a Mercedes and give you a tennis racket. You say, I don't have the tools to do that. So you don't have the parenting tools. So I wrote a book on parenting. Like I ain't buying that book. I ain't no parent. If you're talking to a child, you're a parent. And the child wants to be a parent. The child doesn't want to be a child. You say, why don't you act like a child? They don't want to be a child. They want to be a parent. Once you get it, they want to be an adult. You don't. Why don't you act like a child? That's stupid. They're looking at you because they want to be an adult. Nonetheless, I don't want to get into one of my black rages before, I've been killing these white people. Then they go back to Africa again. But I came out of an era, it's kind of old. I come out with these older people, Amos Wilson, Henry Clark, H. Rap Brown. I come from that era, so maybe what I'm saying may be a little lost there. we had a little focus at one time. Everybody was wearing afros. Even James Brown was wearing an afro. I'm telling you, black and brown. I mean, we come out with all that stuff. And to see this stuff that's going on now, please, it's disgusting. Nonetheless, let's go back to this whole thing called eating and nutrition, that sort of thing. So, we realize we have a new brain that we're dealing with. We realize that that whole code for the brain has changed, what you call the DNA, which our ancestors, we'll call our ancestors, or the gods of righteousness, the gods of justice, the gods of harmony. So they say you're making the gods angry. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what they talk about. You're making your DNA angry. That's the word you use today. That's my DNA. Yeah, you messing it up. Totally messing it up. Because you're not giving it the right soil to grow from to produce the DNA that you need. It starts from the root. And if you're giving the soil white sugar, bleached white flour, are you still with me? Booty call music videos, insulting altogether. If you feed that into the body, that's what's going to grow your DNA. Are you still with me here? Because I mentioned before you're born, you have sensors. The eyes don't see, the brain sees. The eyes just sense light. You have one sense and 5 sensors. You don't have 5 different senses. You have one sense, your brain. So you're feeding this DNA all of this garbage, you're going to get garbage DNA. That's all I'm trying to say. If you want to nourish the tree properly, you would ask the farmer, does he feed his tree Seagram 7? Ask the man who grows grapes. He said, you feed your grapes Coca-Cola, Seagram 7? He said, no, I ain't messing up these grapes, I got to make a living. This is what you feed in your DNA. I know you're trying to do well. Everyone comes, they want to better their life and all that stuff, but they go outside this door, they're going to have a pig foot attack. They're going to be at Starbucks. You know how it goes. The House of Pancake, is that still around? The Dairy Queer and all these people.
Dairy Queer.
So when you leave here, you're going to have that attack. And I know that's what you're going to do because you are addicted. You were made addicted by McDonald's. Keep that in mind. You're fighting an addiction. All of these people are making you addicted. That's why you keep buying this General Motors or Ford or whatever the hell it is, because you're addicted to the product. They don't have to prove it's good anymore. You're going to buy it anyway. Now, we know the quality of things is going down. They found out that beaver turds smell like vanilla. So now they're using beaver turds to enhance the vanilla flavor so they don't have to buy the vanilla bean. It's no big deal. I mean, people eat shit. I mean, it's no big deal. So, I'm just saying, you can't keep up with the corruption these folks are doing. You're not that good. You still got all the spirituality in yourself. God's going to get them. They did bad. They're going to pay for that one day. Oh, yeah, Lord, going to get them. You got all that stuff in your damn head. Forget about that. You want people to pay for it now, not when you're dead and gone. Yeah, you do good gonna come back to you. No, it ain't. Be in jail doing 20-year sentence, you can do good every day, but you ain't getting out for 20 years. Please. Yeah, that's right. What comes around goes around. Yeah, that's right. Well, has Rockefeller's money ever come around to you? That's a belief. There's a difference between a belief and a science. I know that's a belief. What comes around and goes around is a belief. What goes up must come down, that's a belief. All them satellites would have fell down. You know that. All them satellites that got up there would have fell down because what goes up comes down. Yeah, that's right. What goes up comes down. Yeah, rumors, that's over. Yeah. Everything that goes up doesn't come down. Things that go around don't come around. Where's round at any damn way? You got hooked up on this round stuff. Everybody's run around in the racetrack. Cars run around in a circle. Everything's running around. That's how they used to lynch you. Put you in the center, they run around you. They just practice the lynching. That's why I don't like car races. I said, what nigga they gonna fry now? I don't know. They're going around in a circle. I get scared. I don't want to go off. Please forgive me. Oprah. Now, so what we're talking about is trying to organize ourselves to be up to date with what's going on here. You can't keep up with the corruption of the food industry. You know that. You say, well, we can change this system. Well, is that what the American Revolution was about? Did the British say, I'm going to change Britain? Or they say, I'm getting the hell away from the Queen? They didn't say they were going back to change no system. They didn't. And you know that. That's in your history books. Yeah, we can change this system. We going to vote. We can change. Well, women got the right to vote in 1920. Has this system changed? Facts are facts. Your belief is another thing. I believe in a lot of things. I got my heart broken when I was a child. We went to, forgive me. During Christmas time, I was a little child, and during Crisis Mass, which is what it is, Crisis Mass, you know, so it's Christmas. So we go to the movie theater, and they would give us little black children candy. You know, Santa Claus would come out, and he'd throw this candy at us, you know, like these little pickaninnies, which means pigs, and he would call us pickaninnies, which is a word for pigs, as you know. So he threw the candy out to those little pickaninnies, and we get the candy. Santa Claus threw us some candy. So I'm sitting there waiting for Santa Claus to come out, me and my brother, you know, we waiting for Santa Claus to come out, throw us the candy. And Santa Claus came out, and he was a black man with a beard. And I'd never seen a black Santa Claus before. And my brother never seen when tears came down our face. We looked at, we said, we ain't getting shit for Christmas. I ain't never seen it. It hurt in my heart, I'm telling you. But I didn't mean to go there. But I was raised on that kind of era. I didn't mean to go there. When I was coming, I used to shine shoes, and you had to make those beats with the rags. And I make those beats with the rags, and the white people would tip us, and they would spit on me too. That was part of just shining shoes. That's what went on. And I make the beat with the rags, and you sure is a good pickaninny there. They rub my head for good luck. Spit on me. You know, but he gave me a tip, so what the hell. Nonetheless, we're trying to get a better understanding of what's going on without going through all this science jargon that we sometimes use that doesn't make sense whatsoever. You read in the label, you don't understand it, don't eat it. That's what I'm trying to say. All of them, you don't know those words on the label. You don't know what hydrolyzed protein is, which is another word for MSG. You don't know, you read on the label. We got 20 different words we use for MSG. You don't know. You can't keep up with this stuff. This is a corrupt system. Every system they make in America is corrupt. The judiciary system, political system, Wall Street, the banking system, every system is corrupt, and science is very corrupt. I'm just trying to tell you, you can't keep up with the corruption we do. Nonetheless, we're just trying to get a better understanding so we can focus ourselves so we won't walk out the door and be addicted to something else. We're trying to break down our addictions, but you got to stop making new addictions till I can catch up with you. Stop making the new addictions and just deal with the ones you have right now. So don't try to get rid of all your addictions. Some of you still like sugar. You're going to sprinkle that on everything. Greens, collard greens, ham. You know, you're going to put sugar on everything. So you know you can't give up the white girl. That easy. So maybe you ought to start with salt. Say, I'm going to stop using salt. See, I'm going slow with you, because that's how I did when I came out of, I was a psychotherapist for 15 years, so I know crazy when I see it. I know it when I see it. Not perfect. So I'm just going slow here. I'm just saying, we get rid of the salt first. Then we try to stop frying our food and bake it and boil it. I'm going slow. And then we can go to the next step of steaming our vegetables, instead of boiling them for 2 years with hockey pucks and all that stuff y'all be using. So we're going to start steaming, right? And you don't like brown rice, so you're going to mix that brown rice with the white rice. Yeah, we're just going to go slow here. Because when you got an addiction, it's very strong. It's driven by chemicals now. You have a chemical addiction. So you got to go slow. And you're going to start having the right bowel movements. You're not going to sit on the toilet incorrectly. You're going to have your knees up above your navel so you get the right push out of your anus, you asshole. So we're trying to do it like that. So we're going to squat to have a bow movement. It takes less time. You don't have to be James Brown. It just takes less time. So we're going to slow, because it's a lifestyle change that we're going through here. It's not just changing your diet, it's changing your life and the way you approach things. You're not going to keep saying the word sugar and honey because you're going to want some sugar. Don't say, how you doing, sugar? How you doing, honey? Yeah, sweetie. Stop saying that. You're junkie. You're just going to end up eating some sugar. So you got to stop saying those words. It's a whole lifestyle change. And you can't do it overnight. You got to be kind to yourself. Because any skill you have to practice. If you want to be a good golfer, you have to practice it. And if you want to be stupid, you have to practice it. You got to get in the mirror and say, stupid, stupid, stupid. You got to practice that every day. You'll end up saying something smart and blow your whole reputation. So you got to practice being stupid. McDonald's practice your stupidity every day. That's what they do. Every skill has to be practiced. Ignorance has to be practiced. It doesn't come easy to be ignorant. You have to practice every skill, no matter what it is. Now then, so you got to break these habits, and that's a learned behavior. It's a skill you acquired. So I'm saying, don't start no new addiction right now. You know, I know you want to do some other things, you know, go on the phone booth on Thursday and masturbate to Ray Charles. I'm saying, don't go into those new ones. Just stay on the ones you have, and we're going to reduce those. You're going to get the right sleep, because sleep is medicine. You're going to start drinking a gallon of water a day, hopefully spring water, or distilled water, purified water. You're not going to drink tap water. And you're not going to go for all of this stuff about alkaline water, because in physiology, your liver and your pancreas alkalines the water. If you have a weak liver, you can't alkaline your water. So you got to get a machine to do it for you. Why not fix your liver? The liver's job is to alkaline the water, alkaline your food, because you can't digest food unless it's alkaline in your small intestines. That's just basic physiology. The pancreas and the liver alkalines your food. If you messed up your pancreas with white sugar, you mess up so bad we call it diabetes. You know what I'm talking about here. Now the pancreas can't alkaline the food enough for you, so you got to buy alkaline water. But if you have a healthy pancreas and liver, it's going to alkaline the water for you, the food for you. I'm just going through some basic chemistry right now. But I'm saying you've been had because you have a miseducation. Machines duplicate the body. They are not the body. They try to copy it. The machine's trying to copy a function of the pancreas and liver because your pancreas and liver have been shot to hell with white sugar, alcohol, vinegar. All of those things are toxic to the liver and decreases the ability of the liver to alkaline the food. Apple cider vinegar is a social word for acetic acid. And acetic acid is listed in every chemistry book as a poison. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm taught science. You're going to ask me a science question, I'll answer it, but you may not like my answer. Because you know you want to put some vinegar on your greens. I mean, it ain't my fault. But acetic acid is a poison in every chemistry book. Now, if you want to eat the vinegar, you got to eat 1 drop per 100 pounds per hour. That's how much the body makes. Anything beyond that, the body's out. It's a poison. If you're out of the range that can accept it. The body makes alcohol. The body makes bleach. The body makes ammonia. It makes all the chemicals in a certain range. 1 drop per hour per 100 pounds. A shot of beer or whiskey is a month's supply of alcohol to the body. That's why you get drunk. But if you go to the bar and say, give me a drop of alcohol, that's all my body can take for an hour. Let's get the hell out of my bar. But you believe it makes you feel good because somebody got to your emotions. If I poison my body, it feels good. If I get drunk, understand me now, I drink the body. I drink it with this alcohol, and the alcohol goes everywhere. Your brain, your eyes, your liver, your kidney, your pancreas. All that stuff's going to get the alcohol. But the body only wants 1 drop per hour per 100 pounds. Somebody said, if you make your body sick, you feel good. They got to your emotions. But your brain says, no, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to put vinegar in a bottle, baby's bottle, and give it to a baby. They will lock you up. If a baby can't eat it, you shouldn't eat it, damn it. That's just being too strict. Now, a Negro wants to eat his vinegar, says, I'm going to get some organic apple cider vinegar. Okay, get some organic Cedar 7. I don't care, it's still poison. Get some organic Budweiser. No. The alcohol's a poison. Don't let these people hype you out. That's how they used to sell slaves. Here you are, a school teacher, they're selling you Willie Joe. Willie Joe, he's a good farmer. He can pick 10 acres of cotton a day. And then that man buys your ass and you say, look, I'm a school teacher. I don't know about picking no cotton. Now you got to ask for me. Why you want to eat rotten food? Fermented means rotten. Carbohydrates ferment, proteins putrefy. That means they rot. Why would you want to eat a rotten apple when you get a fresh apple? I mean, after a while, you say, wait a minute, they got to your emotions. They got to your emotions. You wouldn't want to feed a rotten apple to a child. I mean, something you say, wait a minute, the reason why you keep eating it is because they got to your emotions. And your emotions are handicapped. They've been handicapped from birth. That's how they got to you. They messed you up before you got out the womb. Then you got into a family where Willie Joe is gay, your sister's a lesbian in the corner, and your mother's in the room masturbating with an artificial dildo. I mean, so you got this whole family is crazy. You got messed up in the womb, got messed up by your family. Then you go to school and they say Columbus discovered white people. I mean, then you messed up again. Then you get in a relationship with one Sal. You know, you found out he was on the down low, found some panties in his drawer next to the jockey strap.
Oh, no.
Damn, you know, what's going on? Then your relationship messed you up. Then you meet somebody and say, I'm going to give you 100% love. Ain't no way you can do that, because all that was destroyed. We're talking from African culture. European culture, you can steal a car. In African culture, you can steal love. If I say I love you, that means I'm giving you 100%, but I'm only going to give you 20% because I got to get other 20% to Lulu, right? Down the street. Lulu getting 20%, and if you're in D.C. or L.A., John's getting 20%. Was it New York too? Y'all don't have that here, right? Y'all don't have that like that here, I know you don't. Nonetheless. So you give them somebody 100%, they're only giving you 20 because they're giving it to all these different things. The porno shows that they watch, that's part of the whole business. So they have stole love from you. That's what I'm trying to say. Other things can be stolen other than a car. If I tell you a lie, I just stole the truth from you. Other things can be stolen other than a car in our culture. Dr. Steve, you want to help me? Yeah. I got to, you want me to answer some questions or something?
Yeah.
Oh.
King Simon.
Yeah, because if they don't, that make me talk all night, man, and I ain't into that.
Anybody who wants a question, I'm not running around. So
There you go.
You're going to come up to this mic and you're going to ask me questions. Line up at this mic and ask you a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice, loud. Yeah, from Albany. Happy birthday, girl.
Albany.
Dr. Afrika. I'm curious about carrots and aloe vera and all the things that some are saying are hybrids, and if these foods are bad for us.
Okay. I don't know who hybridizes. Nature hybridizes plants as well. You can go to volcanic ashes in Kenya, and okra will grow 6 or 7 feet tall. But okra down south will grow up to your knees and gets that tall. Nature hybridizes plants by the soil and by their location. It's just that when someone else does it, then you'll have a problem, but nature does it all the time. We just copy nature. So I don't know if it's hybridized carrot by nature or hybridized carrot by man. It's two different things. It's like people say fructose is bad for you. No, it's not bad for you unless it's cooked fructose. When nature makes it, it's okay. Oil is not bad for you if it's still in the corn, but when you make it and call it corn oil, now you got a problem. But when nature made it, it was fine. So carrots are good for you, and all these other things you name are good for you. It's not a problem. It's the soil that does it many times. If you don't know botany, you can't make the distinction.
Okay, hi. You mentioned that apple cider vinegar is acidic, it's toxic. So when you're making when I make my vinaigrettes, what have you, what is the substitute for it?
What is the substitute for beer? What is the substitute for masturbation? What is the substitute for air? No such thing. Now, if you want to simulate the taste, use raw lemon juice,
Okay.
or raw lime juice, but no,
Okay,
there's
so
no substitute.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You'll be fine. Mix the raw lemon juice with vinegar. Go have it.
Hey, how you doing? I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the blood type diet?
It's, I'm trying to be very scientific, other than say it's bullshit.
Exactly.
It's not scientific. It's only scientific if you eat that type of diet, you will get those type of diseases. But there's no scientific basis for that blood type of thing at all.
Because we was actually, my wife and I, we were just, talking to different herbologists, and people were saying that, type O's should eat different than type A's and B's and so on and so forth. And we did some research on, from what you were saying, and it was definitely, you're definitely saying don't eat meat. But from what this was saying was like O should eat meat and an A shouldn't eat meat. And I don't know, some of the things that it said as far as myself is an A positive, and it said like I shouldn't eat certain nuts and I shouldn't eat certain types of things. And when I did eat those things over the years, they did make my stomach hurt or made me gassy and whatnot. So it seemed like it kind of made sense, but obviously what you said made a lot more sense too. So I really wanted to just really see what you thought about it.
Well, my thoughts are personal, but the scientific facts are what they are. And the facts are this. I don't know whether you're eating the plant when it's ripe. Ripe rice is partially green. Ripe beans are partially green. We are eating unripe food. That's why you have to cook it. Ripe beans are partially green. When they're unripe, they don't have any green on them at all. Ripe rice is partially green. Non-sweet fruits ripen early. Sweet fruits ripen late. Banana ripens late. Okra ripens early. Anybody from the South there, you gotta get that okra when it's young. Wait till it gets older, it's too tough to even chew. Is anyone from the South? Anybody know anything about the country? Yeah. Some people, thank you, because y'all think you put cat out of Walmart. I mean, no. So I don't know. We have to go back and clarify so many things, and that was done in 1920, and the technology wasn't there for the blood classification. That's another thing that you have to understand. The technology wasn't there when they classified the blood. And so a lot of that is what you call causal implications. I don't want to get too involved in this, but it's like this. In order to test the effectiveness of a drug, say a drug for cancer, you got to get 100 people that have cancer, give 50 people the drugs for 20 years, and give the other 50 people no cancer drug for 50 years. That's the only way you can test the effectiveness of a drug. So you got to let some people stay sick for 50 years to test the effectiveness of the drug, and they can't do that. So we call it causal implications. So it's all that's involved in this blood type that he's talking about. They didn't have the technology because African people's blood type is different from white people's blood type. That's something that science has to define for you. It's a totally different blood type. It's a totally different type of melanin that we have. We have what we call uromelanin, which has blue, indigo, violet, red, yellow, and orange. And white people have what we call a theo, or pseudo kind of melanin. Their melanin has yellow, red, and orange, but it doesn't have blue, violet, and indigo. So they have a kind of a melanin, but they don't have the same melanin that you have. Their melanin has sulfur in the center. Your melanin has selenium in the center. It's a total different kind of melanin. So you have to do a different type of blood test for that type of melanin in the blood. Because when you test in blood, you testing the melanin inside of the blood cell. So they weren't even thinking about melanin back then. It's a whole different scientific vocabulary that's needed. And so, in other words, what he's saying is totally correct for his people. But he don't know nothing about our people. Sigmund Freud's conclusion about his people is totally right. They hung up on sex. But he never did any therapy on African people. So when Sigmund Freud said white people are messed up and crazy, I say, you're right. Sigmund Freud is right. Because he tested white people, but he didn't test no black people. So you got to look at who this tester is establishing this norm value and what type of instruments he used to establish his norms. And the testing instruments they had in that time to establish blood type are nowhere near what we have today. Nowhere near. It's 1920s stuff you're talking about. You know how fast the technology grows. You know how much your cell phone gets outdated every 6 months. You know that stuff. So, yeah, you were probably eating unripe vegetables and fruits. And remember, every plant has a fruit. I don't mean the plant gay, but I'm just saying, every plant has a fruit. Okra is a fruit. Tomatoes is a fruit. Barley is a fruit. Rice is a fruit. Rye is a fruit. Barley is a fruit. Millet is a fruit. So we don't know what fruits are. So we're getting all this. There's no such thing as a grain on a plant. There's no grain, it's a fruit. So we got to understand what a fruit is and what's a non-fruit. Roots of a tree is not the fruit. The apple is the fruit of the tree, but not the roots and the leaves and the bark. Are you still with me there? Yeah. So they were testing unripe fruit, and the test was done on white women any damn way. How you gonna trust a heckler with no behind? No, I didn't mean to go there. I'm sorry. They just suffer from a disease called no acetol.
I hang out with a lot of peers, and me myself, I smoke herb. So I want to know, like, a lot of people say it's good, some people say it's bad. I mean, from my experience, I love it.
I bet you do.
I appreciate you being truthful. They're laughing, but you being truthful. I like that. He's going to find out for himself. He won't know the truth. And he's being truthful to get the truth. I like that. When you put a match to the marijuana, it's no longer organic, it's synthetic.
Right.
If you put a match to some hay and give it to some cows, they're going to look at it and say, move that shit, move. They ain't going to eat that. You give them the hay without the match on it, they'll eat it. You look at that. So you've changed, what are they laughing about? You have changed the chemical characteristics when you put the match to it. Now it's a synthetic chemical. And you like the synthetic chemical made from the marijuana. You can eat the marijuana all you want. You can make tea out of it, make a biscuit, whatever you want. But once you put a match to it, it's now a synthetic chemical. And all synthetic chemicals are addictive. Alcohol, vinegar, salt, all of them. If you cook it, you can make a person addicted to it. Alcohol is cooked, they call it distillation. Cocaine is cooked. You don't tell them the truth. Tobacco is cooked. Once you cook it, you can make them addicted to it. That's for sure. But you want to get off of it, or you want another, or do you ask him to read organic?
He gonna go. He gonna go smoke a blunt.
I would say more like, I stick to the regular natural green things, but a lot of people, they smoke like that new loud, genetically modified South diesel and all that stuff.
So you don't know if the weed is organic or genetically modified? You don't know if it's sprayed on or peed on?
Oh no, I know if my weed is sprayed on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mine's good. But I'm just saying, matter of fact, they got to my emotions. They told me
Yeah, they did. They did. You're welcome. Thanks for being truthful, my brother. I know where my weed go. Not Africa.
Hi, Dr. Afrika.
Nice.
It's been a great evening, the whole event. I have a question, obviously. My little sister is a member of the queer community, and I noticed that tonight there were, a few jokes and jest at members of that community, of queer community, gay, lesbian, transgender, and I wanted to know, I'm going to ask you your opinion, but what's your opinion mixed with some of the facts of this large part of our community that's queer? I want to make sure that they feel welcomed, and to be free and be welcomed into our community.
Yeah, it's an emotional subject. In science, it's an easy thing. There's no sex gland in a man's ass. I can prove that. I can prove that. That's why shit's in there. I mean, I can prove that physically. You understand? So anything else I talk about is emotional. Because physiologic is physiologic. What the rectum is made for is manure. It's not made for another man's penis. I can prove that. Everything else we're talking about now is emotional. Because she knows some gay people. My uncle was gay. I know gay people in my family. My uncle was a military police in the Marines back in the 50s. He used to get guys up swinging his stick. You want to do jail or you want to do me? That was my uncle. Anyway, he got a lot of booty. Another subject altogether. So all I'm trying to say is I have no problems with saying the physical facts. I have lectured at the gay man's whatever in California. They invited me out there, the international conference. I lectured there. I lectured at the lesbian conference. They accept me quite well because I'm just talking science. That's all I'm talking. I said, well, science is what it is. You can't change the body just because your mind has changed. You change your mind, that's the body saying, I'm still here, I'm still an asshole. So we have changed our mind, and we think if we change our mind, we can change our body. That's not how it goes. Not at all. Then we got this booty butt, the black men are getting this plastic stuff they get, like their breast implants. They got butt implants for the brothers. They call it booty butt implants. Y'all don't know nothing about being gay, do you? No. But nonetheless, it's no problem in our community. When I was in music, I worked with gay people. It's not a big deal. Not at all. Science is what they can't take.
Next.
Peace. You were sitting over there, going to sleep.
Oh, no.
You woke up and we talked about marijuana. Organic weed. I'm teasing you, man.
I wanted to ask you about fermented foods. My understanding is that some level of fermented foods is good for digestion. Things like yogurt and sauerkraut. You mentioned something briefly about fermented figure being rotten or something of that nature, but my idea is that, certain level of things in moderation can be healthy, but I was curious what you thought about that.
He's asking me about fermented food. As I mentioned earlier, carbohydrates ferment, proteins putrefy. Those are two different processes. And he's saying that you get this rotten milk, which is fermented, is another word for rotten. Let's be ghetto for a minute. You telling me put some rotten milk in a bottle and give it to a baby, that's all right. No. If you're eating raw, you're going to make the acidophilus in your intestines anyway. If you're eating raw, you will make the acidophilus. But if your digestive system is so weak that you can't produce the bacteria and fungus you need to digest your food, as a treatment intervention, you may use some yogurt, but that's an intervention. That's not meant to be a steady part of your diet. As a treatment intervention, you may need to take an enema, but an enema is not meant to be a steady part of your diet, because the food will give you a natural enema if it's raw. But these are intervention techniques that people just make them normal for some reason. Now, you don't need the yogurt, just eat raw food and you'll be just fine.
Raw food or raw milk?
Well, only raw milk for a human is in a woman's dick. And you talk about chasing a cow around all day? No. Raw breast milk is meant for human beings. Raw cow milk is meant for cow. This is just nature. Raw rat milk is meant for rats. You can get milk from rats. You got enough here in New York to feed everybody. Sucking on rat titties is a good thing, and you into raw. I'm saying some things are just stupid. But I understand your question, because in science, we come at you with all this stuff. And we got scientists that push cigarettes at one time. I'm just telling you how it is. Scientists that push this. Scientists on both sides of whoever's paying them. You can't trust these clowns. Whoever's paying them, that's who they push. I'm just telling you how it is in this business. But you have to sometimes get away from that whole European education that, wait a minute, this guy's telling me to eat rotten food. You know, I say, wait a minute, I wasn't meant to, God made me, I'm raw and fresh, so I should eat raw and fresh food, because I'm raw and fresh, If you're rotten, eat rotten food. But nonetheless, if you can just go by the quality of you ever fart? Whisper out of your ass. Make a whisper out of you. If you ever farted. Now, if the fart, some people say, I didn't want to go there. Some people say they're blowing a kiss. Yeah, right. But if you fart, and the fart smells like a bowel with manure, then you have a problem, because your fart should smell like what you ate. If you ate apples, your fart should be an apple fart. But if your fart smells like shit, there's something wrong with you. After a while, you say, wait a minute, when a cow has a bowel movement, that bowel movement smells like hay. Prove me wrong. So we're eating out of order and expecting a natural order, and we have to go back and say, no, wait a minute, let's put this in the order right here. You're not supposed to eat rotten food. Let's go back and put it in the right order, and then ask me the question. So we got a whole lot to overcome when we've been miseducated. That's our problem. It's not a problem with you as a person, it's our miseducation by the scientists themselves. By Pfizer scientists, these scientists lie. Whoever's paying them, that's what they will say. They're white people. Yeah, we got black ones too, Negroes certified. Clarence Thomas.
All right, thank you. Well, I was going to ask a question about marijuana, but the brother came up.
He smoked it all up, yeah.
So my question to you is somewhat along the same thread. There's a psychedelic compound known as DMT, which is short for dimethyltryptamine. It's like I said, it's a psychedelic compound.
Yeah.
As well, it's it's found throughout the.
It's supposed to be known as a spiritual gene. I understand dimethyltryptamine, DMT, is a spiritual cell, and black people have more than others.
It has a reputation for, the shamans use it in South America in a brew called ayahuasca, and it has a reputation, and it's said to be able to make the, certain activity and certain entities in the etheric plane visible, to the human eye. And, some people say it opens up the pineal gland, So my question to you is, well, obviously you're familiar with DMT.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
So what are your views and what are your thoughts on these issues?
He was asking me about this DMT, which is called a spiritual cell. The chemistry name is dimethyltryptamine. And he's saying that this opens up a higher consciousness. You can get it from plants and all that. It's going to open up this higher consciousness and higher wisdom. And I'm saying you can give that to a moron, it can still be a moron.
Amen.
I'm just telling you the facts. That's not going to, if it's not already there, it can't give you something that's not there. It can't create something. Only God can create. We African people here. We can't create more spirituality in you if you're not spiritual. What are you talking about? So I'm just saying that's just a belief. The science is what it is. Give that to a moron and see how spiritual they become. It ain't going to happen. Nice belief, though.
My hands get cold often, and they get
sweaty too. What can I do to fix that? What's the problem?
His hands get cold and sweaty too. He wants to know how to correct the problem. My book, Holistic Self-Diagnosing, will take you through the eyes, teeth, tongue, ears, throat, hair. There it is. Stand up, brother, so they can see. That book will teach you how to diagnose yourself so you won't have to ask me all these damn questions. So you won't have to go to the doctor because it'll teach you how to diagnose your body from your teeth, your tongue, your hair, your eyebrow, your nose, your fingernails, your toenails, your abdomen, your breasts, your back, your knees, your posture, your hair. That's cost $39.95. It's 600 pages with illustrations. I draw what it looks like. Stand up and tell them. Stand up and tell them how to get it. That's the issue. How to get it is you go to my site, which is LailaAfrica.com. That is my site. Not Dr. Africa, LailaAfrica.com.
Or Amazon.com.
Okay, but they finished the commercial. Yeah, but you go to my site and you get it on Amazon.com. That was correct. My wife is, I'm telling her what to say, because I'm in charge of this relationship.
How's everyone doing? The new book is actually $58.95, but when you're in an event like this, he sells it, thank you, I appreciate that. He sells it for, he says $39.99, I say $40, it's a big difference.
But there isn't any here.
No, it was supposed to be here, and it was like minor technical difficulties, but we haven't made it. If you pay for it today, Simon has a location where you can pick them up. So, come on up, baby. Because I can't say
Stop playing. Nicholas. Nicholas. Not Nickel. See, he looked Nickel. Nicholas, Brooklyn Bookstore. And tell them how you want to do it. How you want to sell? How much you want to sell for everybody that came here?
if you get the book right now and you purchase it for $39.99, $40.
It's a good book. I have it. Great book.
You can actually, we'll take down your name, we'll pass it on to King Simon, and then at the bookstore you can just pick it up. You don't have to worry about paying for shipping. If you do it any other way, you have to pay for shipping.
Yeah.
The shipping on the book is a little hefty because it's a big book.
$50-something I paid for shipping.
Yeah. No. You said PDF?
PDF.
No, it just came out. Holistic Self-Diagnosing, the DVD.
Holistic Self-Diagnosis.
It's not quite the book.
And you wouldn't believe it, Dr. Africa is the artist in this. He did the artwork. Yeah, he did a great job, man.
He did a great job.
I read it. I was reading that for a person. You were an artist. You all right?
Yeah.
We got another 15 minutes. So.
I'm not that much of an artist. He's just a boy. I was an art major in high school. I had to do drawing in this book, but I'm not there. I'm just not an artist. Thank you, brother.
Was there any answer or just go get the book?
Huh?
Just get the book? You didn't really do an answer. You said get the book.
No, I'm saying this poor circulation of the hands and the sweaty hands, usually sweaty hands associated with the liver. You see, I'm just giving you information, not telling you how you arrive at it. The book's going to tell you how you arrive at these things. Rather than come to these lectures and stuff, you just tell you, take this, take that. I'm teaching you how to arrive at it, how to understand it for yourself. Because I'm not going to be around around y'all all my life. I'm going to die one day. I hope y'all realize that. So I'm just saying, get the book and be able to empower yourself to take care of yourself. So, okay. You told that was the last person. And the cold hands and the feet probably reduce circulation, which is caused by sugar, B, anything that shrinks down the arteries and veins will reduce the circulation, causing cold hands and feet. So that could indicate some kind of a nerve damage. But how I'm arriving at this conclusion is what I want you to understand for yourself. That the arteries and veins shrank down and it didn't bring enough blood to the hands and feet because they were too narrow. And the blood is keeping the hands warm. But if the circulation is reduced, so the coldness increases. And that's usually something involving the pancreas. The pancreas, which you associate with diabetes and things of that sort. So I would suggest you treat your pancreas and treat your liver, because the liver is the greatest source of heat in your body. It heats up your heart, your pancreas. The liver is your heating furnace. All that's in the book. I'm trying to get you to understand this stuff for yourself instead of asking me. So get something for your liver, get something for your pancreas. All you have to do is tell them that at health food stores. I need something for my pancreas. I need something for my pancreas. Which I have up here, by the way. I'm not trying to say it.
Good evening, Dr. Afrika. Thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question is regarding my sister, who is recovering from TINS right now. That's toxic epidural necrolysis, I believe it's called. My understanding is that while she was hospitalized a couple weeks ago, she was given an antibiotic, which was sulfur-based. And that antibiotic caused her immune system to turn against itself. How concerned should we be about sulfur-based anything, given the fact that we are selenium-based people?
Sulfur was the penicillin of the day. That's what they used to sprinkle on the slaves. If you ever seen a movie called Goodbye Uncle Tom, sulfur them down because that was believed to be the penicillin of that era. Nonetheless, he's talking about some nerve damage associated with the system. And nerve damage is usually treated with things like feverfews, glutamine. You're going to need anti-inflammatory, maybe some Castor. But I would just say MSM. But I have the supplement over there for her illness, by the way. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm kind of all over the place with my diagnosis. The Western doctor told me that I had too much potassium in my blood. My acupuncturist told me that I'm deficient, a protein deficient, so I should eat grain. So I'm like, I don't know what too much potassium means in my blood. I don't know how to, and I know I'm not eating properly. I eat a mostly organic vegetarian diet, mostly. But I do have chicken and fish.
Dead, I hope.
Sometimes, not often, sometimes. But.
Okay, I understand. The thing is that if you change your mind or your mood, everything in your body has to change. The protein ratio will change, potassium and sodium will change, amino acids will change, your hormone will change. If you change, everything in your body will change in order for you to change. So a person can look at the protein and say, well, that's out of range, but it's out of range because the other thing changed. And they look at the potassium, it's out of range because the sodium changed. So everything is changing when you change, and you just pick out the one that you have a skill at. Say, I'm good with the nervous system and the muscles, I'm going to go sodium potassium. You see, you pick out your strength area to make your evaluation. I mean, you wouldn't make an evaluation in chemistry if you're a biologist. That's not your thing. You make the evaluation in the science that you're good at. So they're making the correct assessment, but they're not putting it all together for you. So potassium is usually associated with the female. And you're losing that because your body's using that to nurture, to heal, and soothe, and emotionally comfort you. Yes, that's what potassium does. Yeah, that's part of it, my dear. Yeah, really? Yeah. So I'm just saying, and the protein is associated with stress, hypertension. And you just said you live in New York, so that covers everything. You're stressed, you're hypertension, you're trying to nurture yourself in an unnurturing situation.
Thank you, Dr. Afrika.
Yeah, just do the best you can. Yeah.
What's up, brother?
Okay.
There's a lot of things going around right now with young people. A lot of young people are getting diagnosis of being schizophrenic. Is there any type of thing that you can do to erase that process?
Yeah, he's talking about a mood and thought disorder. A mood and thought disorder is called schizophrenia. That's all he's talking about. The mood is not synchronized with the thought. You can be angry and then you laugh and there's not no synchronization. So we call that schizophrenia. And most black people are schizophrenic. Because we go to work and we smile, we don't want to get in there, I'm just joking. That's schizophrenia. But nonetheless, when we're dealing with the nutrients, we usually use GABA, G-A-B-A, because it helps stabilize the mood. G-A-B-A.
G-A-B-A?
Yeah, I have a supplement that called Mood. It will stabilize your mood. Yeah, that's one of the things. You're going to use some glutamine. That's another thing. And you're going to use taurine, which stops you from having convulsions, just jumping up and doing stuff. So you can use those amino acids. But I have all that put together with the herbs.
Okay. So does that also like stop the voices?
Yeah, you need the mood. You don't need my mood supplement. Probably some other things as well, but I'm just pointing right now to something to do.
That could do immediately. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're the last person.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So you talk a lot about the relationship between the mother and the child. So my question is, do you have a book, like I'm thinking about homeschooling, and that's a whole process, and there's a lot of things that I've heard you say that I guess some people just don't know in society because of what we were originally taught. So do you have a book that kind of guides a mother more to how she should raise a child of melanin and so on?
Yes, that's called Raising Black Children. I have a book that takes you right through the steps how to diagnose their personality, type of listening style, thinking style, what to do when they wet the bed, suck their thumb, cuss you out, masturbate. I have all this kind of primitives in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it includes a little bit about school? What they should learn?
Well, first we got to build a spiritual foundation. I have how to structure that spiritual foundation. School is pop political, so I have to teach them how to navigate that whole thing. Yes, this is my Raising Black Children.
Thank you so much. And I have one other question. Could you tell us a little bit more about the sexual regeneration?
Yeah, I guess I could, but that's two questions, and everybody's, they saying no. Yeah.
You got a DVD over there about it.
I have a DVD on it. Yeah. That's something, yeah. You got one.
Last question.
I just wanted to ask how good is juicing celery?
How good is juicing celery? Guess it's all right. I mean, juicing is appropriate in its place, but the better nutrition is done when you chew it. Because you got to set up the right enzymatic pathway to break down the food. Enzyme chain starts at your mouth. But if you're going to juice it, you're going to have to add water to it because you always dilute your food with spit. And when you juice it, you're bypassing the dilution process that starts in your mouth. So I would add half a cup to a cup of water to the juice, raw organic, apple does not matter what kind, before I drink it. Otherwise, it's too much stress on the pancreas and liver, and you're just going to cause the kidneys to crash eventually.
Thank you.
Thank you. King Simon. Thank you, King.
Give this brother another round of applause. Come on, you can stand up for him. That's our brother. Scientific. If you want to add something scientific, it's the man that told me. The scientific one. And this birthday coming up January 27th. I know, sir. I got it already. I got it. White Summer January 16th.
seat. I got that. That's right. So it's a great combination here. Somebody keep the foundation. So if you want any of his products, you know what to do. Come on over. We're going to give you a flyer to Nicholas with the bookstore, so y'all know where you want to pick it up. A flyer to the address to all of the bookstore. If you're going to buy a book, purchase the book right now. And I will have it over at Nicholas Bookstore by Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. So the book is supposed to come into my house this week. So I think we only got 40. So only 40 limited books.